I was involved with the high drug trafficking with the U.S. and it just gets real grimy. We don't got to get into it, but
right.
it goes on and on forever. So what Rollo did in that situation is he took away the real middleman and he just started funding it for himself, taxing it for himself, doing it what he wanted with it. And they were like, nah, you don't do that. I mean, to jump to J. Cole, he in the brackets, in the brackets record, such a dope record, one of my favorite records on the KOD album. He talks about taxes in general, how he's still putting his money and a lot of money into places he doesn't even know. And he's putting in the school systems that aren't even properly educating his kids to look just like him and giving them a way to put in the right situations. He's putting it into building potholes, into building this and that, and he doesn't see that in the places he lives. So where's our money really going? With no real say into where we can put it. The game is rigged from the jump. No doubt about it, man.
Yeah, and like we was talking about it also, it's like you just born into this and they tell you, look, this is what you got to give. This is what it is. No say so, no negotiation. This is what it is. That's like extortion. Not only extortion, that's like forcing somebody to do something. That should be against the law. If I was to force somebody to pay me something, you know what I mean? They would try to lock me up. If I were to force somebody to do something, they would lock me up and call it kidnapping. So come on, man. This is crazy out here, man. When you see these different tax evasion cases and different things like that. Now we understand it's something that is mandated, but you know, at some point there got to be some type of pushback, you know, to say like, look, this is not fair. You know, just like this justice system, we could transition even into the Meek Mill situation. Released that said that Meek Mill now is able, you know, to travel at this point. You know, Judge Brinkley has been, you know, all over him, but you know, he was released last week. Do we have opportunity to speak on that? We haven't.
I mean, I went live on Viral Hip Hop News moments before my flight took off, and then I know you went into the depths of it that the evening after. We tried to get on live. We apologize, but we got time now to talk about it. We all know Meek Mill was released, and I'm glad we're talking about this situation because there's a lot to dive into involving this. Now, we all know the unjust situation that he was put himself in. He was put in jail roughly around November 6th, 2017, recently released last week, late April. So he spent roughly a little around 6-7 months behind bars. We've seen the cop being hit with his dirty ass shit that he got caught with. We've seen Judge Brinkley's just bias toward this brother, yet he sat in jail. But now we see him picked up by Robert Kraft on his side. We see a lot of influential people with money around him.
Right.
And now news comes out, although Judge Brinkley is vehemently against it, he gets to travel and he gets to move.
Right.
So, I mean, let's just talk about that and then we could just dive into it deep.
Well, it's funny that you bring Judge Brinkley's name up because this is real time. I'm actually doing this in real time, bringing this article up. And it now says, according to TMZ, Meek Mill is now free to start doing shows outside of Philadelphia, thanks to his arch nemesis, Judge Brinkley. Judge Brinkley amended the order regarding his bail condition, and now he has the approval to travel outside of Pennsylvania's Montgomery County for scheduled business activities. He just has to submit his travel plans to probation 72 hours in advance. All right, they also go on to say the amended order gives Meek Mill approval to live in Montgomery County. The original bail conditions required him to live in the neighboring Philadelphia County. Meek still has to submit at least one urine test per month. Now, before I'm going to let you expound on that real quick. He did the Breakfast Club interview. He did it a few years ago. He spoke on living in Philly and living in Philly. You know how Philly is. You know, I love Philly. My heart is in Philly. All my family's from Philly.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? But it's just like his status living there, it just wouldn't be. You know what I mean? You had to move somewhere like to Montgomery County or another, you know, maybe even to an area like Cherry Hill or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just what it is because it's you know, it's like he says, it's the vultures is in
it's
there.
Not the safest place to be, man. It really ain't.
But talk about that though, Sam, man. What you think about that, man? Judge Brinkley actually now letting up on Meek Mill proverbially.
I mean, well, he should be able to properly make a living. I mean, he lost enough.
Right.
It should be done, but we all know in this court system, in this where we live, it's not always guaranteed. We see Kevin Gates. Last week we talked about it. He's right now he have his probation officer on restraining order, or he's trying to file for restraining order so he can get him totally expunged so he can go travel, not to mention see his kids. So he's in a situation where he can not only provide for him, he can't even see him. So, and we all know Judge Brinkley's past when it comes to Meek Mill. She just downright doesn't like this dude, doesn't like this brother, has something against him. So for her to do this, I'm not going to sit here and praise it. I'm going to ask why.
Yeah, I feel you, man.
I'm going to ask why. Why, and why not ask why? Okay, why not put him in the belly of the beast where he know he can get into some more shit? Why let him leave that? Thank goodness they did, but why let him leave that? Why let him go into a situation where he can provide and make money and start making the money back? Well, we all know judges can bang that gavel and destroy you however they want, whenever they want. So why now in this situation? Like I said, we see him. He was at a dinner with Micheal Rubin, Sixers owner. He's been seen a lot with Micheal Rubin.
When you think about that dynamic, I got to bring that up, man. You know, I like to, listen to the pulse of what's going on. That's what you got to do in media. You got to listen, more than we speak. Actually, we do listen. A lot of people are saying, what are these, white men? Got to be frank with you. We're going to shoot it straight, uncensored truth. Interested in this dude from North Philly, this black man from North Philly. What is their interest in him being in prison? You know what I mean? Because when you look at Meek Mill, he's just, a microcosm of the bigger. It's a bigger. It's so many. Meek Mill even speaks on it in his little his dissertation that he gave getting out of prison. There's a lot of people that don't have the resources like Meek Mill. So is this a part of a bigger agenda? Are they using it? And we even talked about this aspect. We said, are they, is this for money? But they're already rich.
Yeah, man.
People like Robert Kraft, people like, your boy Rubin, who's a part owner in the Sixers. They put up in the chopper. They already got money. So we want to know, and I don't know. I want to know from y'all, and I'm gonna let Sam and I want his opinion on this. You know what I mean? And the people in the comment section, what is their interest in Meek Mill? What is these dudes' interest, and why are these other people in jail?
I'm gonna go against the grain real quick, and I might change up and surprise a lot of people.
Dope.
Because we talked about it, I think a couple of days ago off camera, and we have to do a lot more of what we did on camera, and we'll get into that.
Definitely.
But we talked about it like it's a touchy subject because we're so used to seeing, especially white men in power, us having this disdain, and it's real easy not to trust them, especially as a black man. We've seen the disgusting things that's happened to us throughout history and throughout time, and what's still happening to us today, mostly and predominantly at the hands of white men in power. And it just automatically can give you a disdain and just to get away from me. And when we see Meek Mill in a situation with billionaires, it automatically runs to why. And you're going to see a lot of people saying, oh, they see money from them, they see this. And we automatically jump to that conclusion until we dug into it a little deeper. We said, yo, their money is way longer than Meek Mill's is. Their money is way longer than MMG. Their money is longer than these rappers, right? What if they're just a lord with the culture and just a lord with Meek Mill? They seen the story behind them. They just see, and they're a lord with it. And then you brought up the argument, or we both brought up the argument of culture vulture. Was that a definition of culture vulture? And we said we both got to be careful of the line we draw with that. We got to be careful of the people who genuinely just care and want to see genuine things happen. Now, I have a little bit of a direct link with Micheal Rubin, as I alluded to, working in the nightclub that I used to work in the Atlantic City area. He used to be in there numerous times, and not to put his business out there, but the brother liked to enjoy himself. He had money. He liked to enjoy himself. And oftentimes I seen him around brothers. I'm not going to lie. His entourage was predominantly black, and they were club owners in little various avenues throughout the Philadelphia area, but they didn't have the kind of money he had. He just seemed to always be a lord with the culture. He brought in Meek Mill and Nicki Minaj into the club, so he's always kind of been around him. How he got there, I don't know. But what I'm basically trying to say is, what if he genuinely just wants to see this dude do well? What's your stance on that?
I just, I really don't know. I really don't know enough about, these individuals, and I would love to find out, and I would love to do. And I'm going to be watching this situation real close to see, and maybe next year or next two, or maybe even next week, I may know more on this. But I don't know if we can trust it. I don't know if we should. I don't know if Meek Mill should trust it, because even when you look at, it was mainly predominantly Judge Brinkley, who stuck Meek Mill and recently, but we got to go back to the whole beginning of this whole thing before he even got in Judge Brinkley's hand. He got lied on by a police officer. I mean, this is the same system that kept that under wrap. They just now bringing that out now.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's just like, this is like, imagine all the people, they caught a handful. Imagine the people they didn't catch. Imagine how many other cops in America, you know what I mean, and all over the world how many cops over the world, lied on people, and brothers are sitting in jail for 10, 20, 30 years, even life, over some. So I don't know if we can trust. I don't know. We should trust this at this point.
My bad to cut you off. Oh, God. Good, Jason Pollock. I don't know if you know that name. He is a white dude. He co-writes Dear Black People. No, Dear White People, excuse me, on Netflix. It's a dope ass series. I don't know if you checked that out. Oh, God, if you haven't, I strongly suggest you do. They have their premiere coming out May 5th. Dear White People is a dope ass show. Gives a perspective of how black people think about white people through the black eye, an intellectual black eye. It's set around a bunch of college black kids that go to a very, it's split in half between white and black. These kids are very intelligent, very intricate, but they're us. They speak like us. They talk like us. They feel us, and they give a perspective of how white people they're seeing. It's dope. The creator brought and said something real dope on the Breakfast Club. I want to play that now, and then I want to get your perspective. It has a little something to do with what I'm talking about in Micheal Rubin. Just take a look.
I want to ask you though, Jason, like how can more white people use their privilege to combat prejudice in America?
Don't just say, oh, I know what white privilege is. Oh, I'm so fucking woke. You're not woke. You're woke if you go out and you work hard in the community with your hands and your brain and your mind, and you shut up and you listen and you assist the people that know what they're doing. And you're not woke just because you know what the word white privilege is. You have to use your white privilege to break down white supremacy in an aggressive way. We have a lot of work to do. White people need to wake up. I think the biggest problem in this country is not Republican racism, it's Democratic racism.
Break it down.
It's white progressive racism that's hurting us the most. I respect Republicans being like, I'm racist. Look at me, I'm racist. I have a problem with Democrats looking me in the eye and saying I'm not racist and then going and living their lives in an incredibly racist way. And if we don't fix that shit, Donald Trump is going to win again in 2020.
Just thoughts on that, oh God.
Man, I think, I agree to a certain extent. I would rather, I agree with the premise on what he's saying. Like, I would rather somebody, be outward with me.
Right. But
in this society, I think we have both. We have the people, who are outward with it, and we got the people who aren't. And I think they're on both sides. I'm like, you can just, just say Democrat or Republican, like that. But I think it's really on both sides of the coin. And I think that's been our major problem in this country has been racism.
Okay, well, my question to you is, Micheal Rubin in that situation, do you see him in this Meek Mill situation as being a dude using his white privilege and standing up and saying white privilege this is wrong? This brother was treated unjustly. Does he have to come out and say that in order for him to be taken seriously? Because you just said you didn't trust him. And this is the ultimate premise of my question and my argument, because I'm sitting here in the same situation. I don't trust it either. But I want to look at it from a different perspective. I want to give this dude the benefit of the doubt and see it, because maybe we are wrong. Maybe we should put trust in him at this time when we don't. And I hear a dude like this saying that we have to use our white privilege to tear down aggressively racism and white supremacy in America. Do you see Micheal Rubin kind of following that trend? And if he is, does he have to come forefront and aggressively say that shit and announce that shit?
Yeah, I think if you're gonna jump in, just like the pool, you can't tiptoe in it. He's got to jump in. You know what I mean? Because you never go. So call it for what it is. Call the situation for what it is. But you got to call. My thing is, you got to call it all out. You know what I mean? If you're gonna do it, but I don't believe that this is what this is at all. I do believe that they probably are friends. You know what I mean? And him and Meek Mill are genuinely friends, and I genuinely think, that Meek Mill has a friendship with him. You know what I mean? And whatever their relationship is, as we see, he knows his kids and all that. I'm not getting in the middle of that. You know what I mean? If somebody, I'm not going to be the guy who's going to return the hate that people give to me. I'm not going to do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? We got people that do it on both sides of the fence that give that hate. I'm not going to do that. So, but I don't know I think Meek Mill should definitely be careful in that type of situation. And I'm not just because they're white dudes either. I mean, you should be careful with black dudes as well.
It's people in power and just people in the circle all together. I don't think either one of us would disagree on if it was a situation involving Micheal Rubin's business or Meek Mill. He's choosing that business 10 times out of 10. He's not caring about Meek Mill. He'll shred him if he had to in order to keep his correct. So Meek Mill should always just remember that and keep it one eye open. And who's to say he isn't? We out here just talking and just kind of reading it as we go along. At the end of the day, on the Uncensored Truth podcast, we're saying, and oh God, right here on Monday night, got the show popping right now. Make sure you go up top.